What's up, future OTs?
Hey, everybody.
Welcome back to Hey Future OT. And guess who I still have here?
It's me.
The GOAT, Miles, the greatest of all time. Today, we're going to be talking about why 450 Formula is the best resource out there. I don't care what anyone says. You don't need anything else. No, I'm just joking. No, seriously, 450 Formula is literally hands down the resource I wish I had in college.
I'm just like a humble Midwestern boy, Kim, so it's hard for me to just be like, yeah, we're the best. But we are, so.
Yeah, we are. That is like, it is really
Obviously, we
effective.
feel that way. I get it, but
Yeah. So let's talk about why it's so amazing. No, but let's just kind of talk about like our experience with this exam, and kind of what led you to start this course. And then how it's kind of evolved to where it is now.
Yeah, so we've had a ton of conversations about this. And it's just like when we studied for the exam, you know, however many years ago, it was so frustrating. It was just such a whole ordeal. And it just felt like, you know, school was fine. And then all of a sudden this exam, it's like, oh yeah, and just like memorize everything you learned for the last 3 years and like come and regurgitate it in like painful detail.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
And the resources that were available just felt like, hey, here's everything. Like, here it is. Just know it. Just know it. And it was like, oh, how?
Like, I used Therapy Ed, and I literally read it from front to back cover, right? And I failed the exam, right? Like,
yeah, and
it was just impossible for me to memorize every single little thing.
And I think that's a common experience for a lot of people, whether they're, you know, just frustrated or barely pass, have a horrible, stressful time, and then whether you pass, it doesn't matter. Like, I think we talked about this a little bit in our previous episode about like how not to study. I just think a lot of the default ways that we're given, like the resources we're given or the feedback we're given, sort of lead us naturally to study in ways that are just not ideal, like not helpful. And so that sort of frustration is what I think spurred both of us to be involved in helping other students.
Yep.
And so I ended up starting the course on my own, doing the first topic, and then I brought you in later, which has been like game changer. It's been really awesome.
So it started as OT game plan.
So there was the podcast OT Exam Prepper, and then I decided to basically do a long form version of that and make that into I called it OT Game Plan for the short time that you weren't a part of it. But yeah, the podcast has always been like, hey, here's something really annoying and tricky. Like, I am not studying for my exam that's like staring over my shoulder, right? Like coming up any day now. So I've got the time to take this insane amount of information and give you some clever, easier way to memorize that with mnemonics or some sort of strategy, whatever that is, right? So that was kind of the podcast. That's how I've always studied myself. But like, again, facing the exam myself, I just didn't have time to like do all of that. So I decided to like take the time after the fact and do it for other students. And that was popular. People liked that about the podcast. So I thought, well, hey, if like that worked for, you know, these one-off topics like Allen cognitive levels or MET levels or whatever, like let's just like full scale it. Like let's go for it. So I took upper extremity, got the upper extremity textbooks and sat down with them and realized that like, I am allergic to textbooks. I'm that guy who like sits down to read a paragraph and is like, better read it again. Like I totally zoned out from here to there and I have no idea what that said. So it was the most horrible, painful experience. I pulled it off in the end, but it was terrible.
How long did it take you to write the...
It was like a year to cover one topic. It took way longer than it should. I laugh like I think towards the end in the videos. I say like, you guys can literally see my hair grow. Like I got like multiple haircuts throughout the process of making the course. So
and then that's when I got an email from you.
Yeah. We had talked briefly one time, and then anyway, we decided, we like kind of talked and realized that like I was like, Kim, you like textbooks? Like you like this stuff?
I literally love textbooks. Like I'll email Miles or I'll text him and be like, guess what? The new Pedretti is coming out in 3 weeks. I know you don't care, but like I am so excited.
And all that tells me is like I picked the right person to go on this with. So ever since that point, it's even like I killed myself to do a good job with the upper extremity, but as soon as Kim became involved with it, it's like next level. So
Yeah.
but
So
yeah,
cool.
the whole point, the whole idea is like studying was painful and horrible, and just being given information in the form of like, here you go, just did not work. It's so painful, even if you do pass, and it's just rough. So similar to the podcast, we just try to like take this stuff and then emphasize, frankly, a lot of the things we talked about in the previous like how not to study episode about like, hey, here's all this information. Let's try to boil it down to these big topics that make everything inside of that box make sense. So then when you come across it, it's like, oh, sure, of course.
Right, heard this, know what this is.
Or for the things that are like really sticklers, like weird scales or things that you can't get around memorizing, like we'll find some way to make that simpler.
Yeah.
And so we've just kind of taken that approach of like trying to find that balance between like we need to know specifics, but like the big picture makes that easy. How deep do we? Anyway, we've like really worked well to try to find that balance of like trying to make it simple and approachable and like digestible instead of just like vomiting all the information on you and saying like it's your responsibility now.
Yeah, and that balance is so important because again, our job is to make sure we're delivering, accurate information, but also making sure that we give you everything that you need to actually pass the exam with a super high score. So I think Miles, his disdain for the textbooks and my love for the textbooks, right? So what we do, and like, let's talk about this process because I don't know if students recognize what goes into the back end of building 450 formula. So Miles will say like, okay, this is the topic, right? Pediatrics. This is the topic that, I know students need help with. My job is to take out the 6 pediatric textbooks that I have. So I have like 3 OTR textbooks, 3 CODA textbooks, and literally go through all of the textbooks, identify what subcategories like cerebral palsy, autism, IEP, right? What categories or the topics in pediatrics do we feel like students need to know? Once we say, yeah, let's do these 10 topics, then I go and I spend maybe a few weeks, and I literally read every single chapter in 6 textbooks. And I compare the chapters, and then I give Miles. So I take maybe what was 50 pages of information, and I'll give you 1 or 2 pages.
Yeah, we get like you get down to like an outline where it's sort of like cross-referenced. Like sometimes there are places where the textbooks just disagree, and then we have to figure out what to do with that. But most of the time, it's this matter of like, okay, we can be 100% certain that whoever's writing these questions, wherever they went, like this is what's going to get us the answers right.
Yep.
And so you find, I like want to. I can't think of anything I would rather like, it's amazing to me that Kim enjoys this stuff. But so you basically like get down to just like the bare bones. This is all of the information in its like simplest cross-reference. We're certain that it's correct form, but it's still, it still is like a textbook. It's still pages and pages and just like facts and stuff. And so then that's where I come in. And then I try to take that and like then again look for, okay, we could teach this same thing slightly different in like 9 different times, or we could realize that these are all connected and there's a reason for the slight variations, or maybe the variations are so slight that it's like we can just remember sort of one average, or we can sort of find some way to just simplify it, where instead of like, hey, here's pages, memorize it, we can simplify it. We can understand it in a simpler way. We can make it like, when you understand something, like when you get why something is happening, it's like you can't help but learn it and remember it.
You'll never have to memorize it ever again.
It just clicks.
Yeah.
When studying, which is the way a lot of students do it, when it feels impossible, is when you're just trying to like A, then B, then C, and you have no clue why, and you're just trying to like shove that into your head to like pass the test the next day.
Yeah, and what amazes me, Miles, like when we're in this process, how many times have you said like, oh, Kim, they just took 3 pages to tell us this one thing. And I'm like, mind blown. How did you figure that out? Like, he could literally read the 2 pages or 3 pages of information. And he's like, yeah, they're just saying this. And I'm like, well, I told my students to memorize all 3 pages. And Miles was like, here it is. So I think, again, that balance, right, of just
a product of being like very lazy, right? Like, I can't be bothered to.
I don't get how you just conceptualize and like can just bring that big picture together. I don't do that. I just want you guys to know that I don't bring the big picture to this whatsoever. That is all of him. If it were up to me, it would be 200 slides on a PowerPoint and we're going through all the different facts, right? But Miles is like, no, how can we, find patterns in the information and like find, it's just amazing how you do that.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. And
it's
frankly,
really cool.
it's equally amazing to me how you're able to just like get everything in line. It's like, it's incredible. I don't know how you do that. So.
Yeah. So when we get inside of the actual course, once you guys see it, we have spent God knows how many hours going through tons of textbooks, making sure the information is accurate. And I think that's the point that we need to touch on. Like in the Facebook group, and you guys are in the Facebook group, right? OT Exam Preppers Facebook group. How many times do we see someone post like, hey, I was using this resource and they say this, 450 formula says this, oh my gosh, I'm so confused. And then it's like comment after comment. I'm so confused, like which one is right? We don't know which way to go, our lives are over.
Or more recently, we've been getting a lot of people who will post like an explanation that's clearly generated by AI. And AI is super helpful, but it's referencing the entire internet,
That's
not like the actual stuff that determines if for OTs on this exam, is it right or wrong? So it's been really cool because I've like sat through the process with Kim where I can literally see her like, if we have any question or any doubt about anything, she's like, okay, well, let me just flip open 6 textbooks and make sure. And so it's like, I just know, like I've been through this process that maybe like there's 1 or 2 small things that we've had to add to the course later that students have brought up that like wasn't addressed. And we're like, oh, sure, yeah, like we'll throw that in there. We'll do a quick edit. But I have yet to come across something where we just like got it wrong.
No.
Like the amount of cross-referencing and everything that Kim does is just astounding. So whenever there's that sort of thing where someone's like, hey, this other resource and 450 formula are at odds, I don't even have to think. It's like, I was there. I promise you,
guys,
Kim got this right.
There is no way that anything in that course is incorrect. I can tell you right now. And I don't just pull random textbooks. I literally go to nbcot.org. They have a list of the top textbooks that the exam writers use. And I purchase all of those textbooks, and that is the only content or the only reference that we use for 450 formula. Like, that's it. So I think it's really important that when you're looking for resources to use, but when you're looking for resources to use that you maybe ask them, like, what are you referencing? What are you using? Because a lot of resources are using Google, and Google is not the OT literature. AI, we have to touch on this because we are in a AI society right now. Yeah. And AI is amazing. Like, I use AI for a lot of different things, but what I do not use AI for is to reference the content or to ask if this question is correct or which answer is correct. Because like Miles was saying, AI pulls from everything in the world, literally everything. And the exam, unfortunately, is only pulling from OT textbooks, OT literature, and maybe like your psychology journals, your, all of your medical journals, and that's it. So you have to be very careful when you're using AI because they get it wrong. Right. It's literally wrong.
Yeah, I would seriously consider, like when AI was becoming a thing not so long ago, I tried to make it do this OT stuff predictably and like accurately, and I just couldn't. Like it just doesn't get it because it's referencing who knows what. Yeah. And OT is such a small part of the world. Like how many times have you talked to a patient and they're like, oh, the PT's here, right?
Right, right. Right.
So it's so hard for it to do. I would really encourage anybody who's been using AI for the exam, like pick any other topic that you are extremely knowledgeable about, like some hobby, and then try to find like the most technical kind of detail-oriented thing and ask AI to like explain it or do it for you or something. And you'll see that like, there's a not that small amount of the time where it's just pretending, like it presents answers. It's really good at giving you answers that feel right. Mm-hmm. But is the specific information and how it fits together, is that all like is it perfect all the time? Like, no, it's not. So it's a useful tool, but when it comes to something that needs this level of specificity, this level of like detail from specific sources, you're asking for trouble.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, maybe if you're saying like, oh, my client has weakness, what are some strengthening exercises?
Sure.
Like something that basic, but when you literally copy and paste a practice exam question and you give it those 4 answers or those 3 answers, like it's too risky to depend on AI. There was a comment this morning in one of the Facebook groups, and it was a positioning question, and literally the student said, I thought the answer was something about the pelvis. The student was right. And then she said, but AI gave me answer A, and now I'm confused. And I'm like, you were literally spot on. Like you were basing it on your OT knowledge, and then now you're confused because you're using AI, right? So all in all, just be very careful when you're using AI. Maybe you can say like, help me study upper extremity injuries, right? Something like that. But when it comes to the practical piece of OT, I would not use it when it comes to practice questions.
Yeah. So should we give people like a little example of how the course might lay out something?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you want to pick a topic?
Yeah. So what about, I just love mobility, right? Like I think that was one of my favorite topics to talk about in the course. So I think mobility is a good example of what it looks like, why it's so effective, and why students love it.
Yeah. So like proximal stability is distal mobility?
That's a good concept. Yeah.
Start with the hips. All that kind of
hips
stuff.
Don't lie. I'll never forget that.
90, 90, 90.
90, 90, 90.
So again, we're just rattling off as you've used the course. I don't know why you'd be watching this if you've already used the course. But the idea is, so there's all this information, and it's just raw. And if you just tackle it like that, it's going to be tough. We've looked at it, and then we come up with a few ideas. So for mobility, it would be something like, we would start off by talking about these concepts. So it would be something like proximal stability leads to distal mobility. And all of a sudden you start seeing that everywhere. So when you start seeing different mobility stuff, you realize that every time they're addressing whatever part of the body, they're going to start with the most proximal part of that and then work outwards as you gain proximal stability gives you distal mobility. So whether that's the pelvis or the shoulder or whatever, or even if it's like just of the hand and wrist, where do you start? The wrist, because that's more proximal. If your wrist can be positioned appropriately, then your fingers can work well. So that one thing saves you from memorizing like some sort of specific protocol about, oh, in this case we would start with the wrist and then do the hand, or in this case we would start with the shoulder and then do the elbow. It's like all of those become one thing. Like 90, 90, 90 for positioning, you could memorize like exact degrees or little like positioning of a desk or a computer or this and that, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, no, 90, 90, 90 is like, if we're talking about positioning, it's like 90 degrees at the elbow, 90 degrees at the hips, 90 degrees at the knees. Yep. And that's what they're describing. And all of these questions might be giving you like exact joint measurements or positioning and all that, but it's like, that's all it is. And it's like, especially if you just picture it like, hey, I'm typing at a computer like this. That one picture saves you from memorizing like 1,000 different
details,
goniometer measurements.
That's been a game. I already told you guys, like his ability to come up with concepts. Like even when I'm studying for stuff, I'm like, why didn't I think of that? So it starts with concepts. And if you don't watch anything else in 450 formula, if you understand the concepts, you're going to get tons of questions correct. And then we go into
it's foundation.
The foundation.
So we like color coordinate these things. So foundation's like the green one, whatever, it doesn't matter. But the foundation is like, what do you need to know about the conditions just to be able to like understand the question, right? It's typically like the information that the question won't tell you. So if it says, this client has ALS and blah, 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 it's like you need to know a few things about whatever's going on to just like participate in the question, or else it's just a blind guess. So it tends to be that kind of like, what's going on with this condition, blah, blah, blah.
What
Some
is it?
slightly more specific things.
Symptoms, right?
The foundational stuff you need to know to be able to like get what the question is about.
Right.
And then it goes into application. So then it's like, what do we do about it, right? And so that tends to be like interventions, or, you know, moving on from what do we do and why do we do it? Some of the more specific things about what does it actually look like to address mobility or whatever. So that would be like, we'd talk about some different like interventions or devices
like,
or orthotics, whatever it is.
And then there's images. So that's the other good thing about 450 formula. You get the visual, you get the auditory, right? You get you get the written words from the lectures. It's like we really use this multi-sensory approach for every single type of learner. And I think the visuals, like there's this little green man. If you're in a course, you know the little green man. We need to give him a name. It's a little green man, and this little green man literally, like, you'll see him in a wheelchair, and you'll see like the recline versus the tilt in space, and you'll see like the different standards, right? And this little green man, I mean, we really rock with him. He's great. He's great.
Yeah, I'm a super like audio-visual person. That's why like textbooks are just, I'm allergic. I just can't do it. So I've tried, like that's, and I think a lot of people are like that, especially this day and age with like, we grew up with phones and the internet and stuff, and it's hard for our like attention spans to cope with some of the more traditional methods of studying. So, but if I can see it and understand it, and like, so I have somebody telling me, talking to me, that just clicks. And I think so many people are like that and then struggle with the other forms of studying that we get so often.
Yeah, and then when we're teaching, it feels like this.
Yeah.
Like, we're not talking as if we're some medical, you know, professor and like medical jargon. We're literally like, look, guys, hypotonia, literally, it means weakness. You're floppy, you're leaning over. Like, we just make it very relatable and conversational. Because like you said, this day and age, the modern day student, it's important that we're engaged with the content and engaged with the information, because it just sticks.
Yeah, so much of the time when we're going through textbooks together, like I have the same complaints. I was when you the few times when we're going through it together, when we're really trying to dive in and like get down to the bottom of some tricky thing, and Kim's already done a lot of legwork before that. Like when we're looking at it together, I just cannot stand how much effort these authors put into sounding smart. Like we could say it simple, but we don't. We say it in some insane way with fancy medical terms and stuff. And it's like, we could just talk about it the way we'd actually talk about it to our clients or whatever. And so we try to obviously make you familiar with the terms that are tricky, but we just try to like, hey, this is what it is and this is what it looks like. We don't need to be talking about some long thing that makes us feel like we're more.
Yeah, then like I wish I had an example. We're writing, you know, one of the courses right now, and I wish I had an example of the sentences that the textbook used, because we were like, what does that even mean? Like,
no, just open up your textbook to where it's talking about frames of reference.
Oh my God.
And try to just read a few paragraphs and like just get it. And that's not like a super critical bit of information, but like if you want to get like dense sort of self-aggrandizing, like look how smart we are kind of thing,
frames
like
of reference.
Frames of reference.
That's the one. That's the one. You will be like, what the heck is going on? Which makes sense why so many students love 450 formula, because it's like, I never understand, like the amount of times a student has come to us and said, why don't our professors teach the information like this, right? Why didn't we learn like this in school? Or I wish I found you my first attempt or my second attempt, right? Like, or light bulb, mind blown, like why, you know, like the amount of times we get that email is insane.
Yeah, we get emails all the time, like, thank you, this really helped. And my favorite ones that I hopefully it's a fairly common experience, but they say, you know, this was the first thing that made studying, you know, I guess as fun as it can be, right? Yeah. No one does this for sport, but like it felt, I looked forward to it. It felt fun. It was like entertaining, engaging. You know, when you guys are frustrated with something, like I'm right there and I feel that too. And so
Yeah.
we try to be as human as we can
Yeah.
while we're going through it. So.
Wow. So we have the concepts. We start there. Then we have foundation, medical information, really understanding just what is hypotonia. Then we have application, interventions, right? And how do we actually use this information in everyday practice? And then
at the very end, we do what's called like a key line. So that's where we say, hey, we just spent 25 minutes going through all this stuff, all the topics, but if you're going to boil this down onto a flashcard, what should go on there? And it's like, literally, it's usually like one slide, maybe 2 sentences. Sometimes it's a little bit more than that if it's whatever, but it's like the simplest possible version of this is boom, right here. Like if you can walk out of here and make sure that you like laser print that into your brain, like it's just going to be there forever, then you've got 90% of what you need to know for this.
And
then after that, we do probably one of our favorite things.
Wait, you're skipping something, Miles.
What am I skipping?
The details.
Oh.
He's skipping it because he hates it.
Of course I did. Yeah.
And I love the details. See how he just overlooked that?
Whoops. Yeah.
The details. Dun, dun, dun. And we actually make this noise in the course. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. So when I first started, my like little catchphrase about him was like, where good studying goes to die, right? Like it's just not great. And this is the idea where, again, if you were studying everything equally, you just assumed that everything that was in these textbooks or in these, whatever you're using to study was equally important, then you'd be done. Like that'd be a terrible way to study because there's so much stuff in there that feels important. But if you just know the big picture or whatever, like you don't need to know it. It's just not there. Or it's a total trap. It's something that like goes into a lot of detail, but we just don't get questions about it or all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Occasionally, there's 1 or 2 things that are very specific that we get asked about and we bring those up. But almost always it's like, hey, I know you want to,
but don't study it.
Want to.
Yeah, and I
don't go down there.
And that's just us doing our due diligence of saying like, hey, you may see this. We need to present this to you.
Yeah.
But do not spend more than a few minutes on the details section of the course. And then it's our favorite part.
Yeah. So then we do practice questions. And these are always super fun because we have a tradition where Kim writes them, of course, and I don't look at them. I've never seen them before we sit down to like record the episode. And so I'm literally taking them blind. And it's really funny because usually like we'll have done the actual content a while before. And so like I'm even a little bit rusty or whatever, it doesn't matter. I get to take them for the first time. Oftentimes I get them right. A lot of times I get them wrong. And so then Kim gets to explain why I just made a fool of myself in front of all you guys. And it's immortalized in this video that you guys get to watch for the rest of the time.
But it's so real, right? Because students are sitting there taking the questions and they may have gotten it wrong, right? So to be able to explain like, oh, I got this wrong because I completely overlooked this, it's just our way of helping you be able to break down that question and understand the correct and the incorrect answers.
Yeah. Yep. The conversation we have when I get it right or when I get it wrong is always, I think, super helpful for students. So it's been fun.
So literally, it's the best course out there. And I'm not just saying that because Miles is in the room and he founded this course, right? Like, or because I'm a part of the course, we have just put so much attention and effort into what can we build that every type of student, no matter the program they went to, no matter their foundational understanding of the content, no matter, like we just level the playing field, right? By just building a course that taps into every type of learner and helps them really simplify the information and succeed.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a huge effort just to take all the information and like get what's important and put it in the right place. And then, even a step beyond that, trying to then like make it approachable, make it digestible, make it like, I don't know, clever or easy to remember. Like that process is like really intense. And no student would have the time to do that just from beginning to end in their own studying. Yeah. But like we do. So we did. And so we
do. We make time. We're still OT.
I'm saying our exam isn't in like 3 weeks.
Right.
From now,
yeah.
Right?
If you were trying to do this before your exam, it's impossible. Like it took him a year to write upper extremity injuries. Pediatrics took us 8 months maybe?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to write the pediatric course. And then some of the other ones, God knows how it takes a long time.
Yeah, but at the end, it's like polished and it's
Yeah.
quick, and from what students tell us, it's working, and
Yeah.
people find it as easy as we hoped it would be. So
Yeah. So
we love it, and we hope that
it's amazing. But again, maybe I'm biased. I don't know. But if you're looking, and I think another conversation, Miles, is your resource will literally make or break your score. Like the resource that you use, and there's tons of resources out there, right? Good and bad resources, but like really taking the time and the effort to do your due diligence, research the resource, look at what your colleagues are saying. One of the best places is Facebook, right? And literally going to all of the different exam prep groups and just type in that resource. If you're interested in 450 formula, type it in and see what everyone is saying. Type in TMPOT, type in OT exam prepper, right? And it'll really show you what your actual colleagues who are in your shoes, what they think about it, what they like, what they don't like, and what's really helping them.
Yeah. Honestly, an underutilized resource, just like in general, is other students, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes students will ask me like specifics about the like test center protocol.
And I'm
It's
like,
I don't know.
Right.
Like, they changed. I haven't taken my exam since they changed. Like, there's 100 people in here that like took their exam
right.
within the last few weeks. Like,
Yeah.
tons of students know what's going on.
Yeah. So lean on each other, guys. Like really rely on your colleagues, I'm telling you, I love the Facebook groups, and I love the questions that you guys ask. So keep asking questions and just don't feel like you're alone. Don't feel like, you're embarrassed to reach out. Everyone's struggling. Like everyone's struggling with this exam. So reach out, do your due diligence, get 450 formula. Anything else?
No, I think we covered it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just think, again, I think we set out to make the resource that we were so frustrated when we took our exam.
Yeah.
We set out to make the thing that we wished we'd had to make our lives easy with this whole ordeal when we were taking ours. And so that's been our mission from the beginning. And we always try to remember to keep the students first and foremost in mind and just be helpful for you guys. So hopefully, from what we've been told, it feels like we're succeeding. So.
Yeah. So you can find Miles first at OT Exam Prepper, the podcast, right?
Yeah.
OT Exam Prepper. He has an amazing podcast, really silly mnemonics that literally just stick with you the entire exam.
The they are, the easier they are to remember.
They're so good. And then we have 450formula.com, right? If you're interested in the course. And then, of course, you guys know TMPOT.
Of course.
OT Exam Prepper.
If you need tutoring, go right there.
If you need tutoring, holla at me. No, this is great. This is great.
It's been fun.
All right, guys.
Good luck.